It is day 5 in our starting out sessions. So I hope that you're ready to complete this week of body weight workouts. And then next week, we are going to start incorporating some dumbbells. So that'll be fun to add some equipment. Um, as I'm sure that you figured out, though, body weight is not to be minimized, right? It is still quite a lot of work and takes a lot of strength and still tons of fun. So we are going to go through some movements today that generally we do use with weight. But today we're going to try to find some isometric contractions. So those are flexions that you yourself are personally incorporating and starting off with before you even pick up any weight or any equipment. So we're going to be going through that 3 rounds of work, 15 reps for each exercise, and we're just going to go all the way through 3 rounds, kind of old school style. But let's start on our back on our mat. Go ahead and lower yourself all the way down. Arms up overhead. Let your knees drop to the left, and then bring them in and let your knees drop to the right. Bring through center, drop to the left. Through center, grabbing that core, and drop to the right. All right, extend your left leg long, pull your right knee into the chest and have it drop to the left. So we're just opening up that low back, making sure that it's ready to go. Return it to the ground, and then you're going to go left knee in and twist. Switch that knee over, back to the ground. One more time each side. Hug your right knee in, twist it to the left. Feels nice to put that right arm out on the ground, get a little stretch across your chest. Right leg returns to the ground, left knee into the chest, and push it over to the side. All right, now we're going to continue just with a few more side to sides. So put your legs in a tabletop position. Your knees are right on top of the hips and your shins are parallel to the ground. Flex those feet back, contract across the core. You'll want to use your arms out on the ground. Just lower your knees over to the left. Grab through that right oblique and front of the core, and then switch over to the right. Got my mat a little too close to the wall. Oh well. Keep this going just 2 times each side. We're back on the left. Grab through the core, through the center, and then onto the right. Okay, hug both knees into the chest. Tuck your chin in, tuck your chest in. Get a nice little hug. See if you can find that contraction deep, deep part of your core, and then below your belly button. All right, let's rock and roll a couple times. Just push your hands underneath your kneecaps, and then roll back, come up, try to grab that balance. Good, let's do 2 more. Last one. All right, we're gonna come all the way to standing and hinge over those legs for just a second. Let the weight of your upper body just pull your body down from the waist, stretching those hamstrings. Get that nice long stretch into the backs of those upper thighs. Let's take a couple deep breaths, and then we're going to get started. All right, come on up. So our first exercise is going to be a deadlift. As I said, we're not holding any weight. Traditionally, a deadlift, you do pull quite a lot of weight. So I want you to try to get that mentally into your head. So envision that you're pulling whatever sounds heavy to you, 50 pounds, 80 pounds, 120 pounds, 200 pounds, whatever. So we're going to start with our stance. Our feet are going to be directly underneath the hips, toes pointing straight ahead, and your knees lined with the toes. Then you're going to try to find that really tall chest, pulling the shoulder blades back and down. And this is where a lot of a deadlift is lost for a lot of people. I'm going to pull this guy out. Is keeping that flexion between the shoulder blades. I'm going to have you put your thumb underneath your rib cage and then your middle finger on top of the iliac crest, that hip bone that kind of sticks out on the top. Even if you're not able to feel those bones, still set your hands there because you will be able to feel a sort of squeezing together or opening wider in those hands. And that's what we're looking for. So we're going to make sure that our form is totally correct. Feet straight ahead, heels underneath the hips. Grab that tailbone, kind of tuck it under just a bit. Shoulders roll back and down. Get your thumb underneath your rib cage and your middle finger on top of that hip bone. So the reason that we're putting those there is because as we hinge forward from our hip creases, okay, so we're not hinging from the waistline, we're hinging from our hip creases. We are going to check in and make sure that those, the middle finger and the thumb do not start dropping toward one another. So what would happen is if you're hinging from your waistline, so you have this gap here, you would start shortening the thumb and middle finger, and we do not want that to happen. We want to keep that space between the low ribs and the hip joint. So from those hip creases, we are going to push the hips back. The back stays flat, okay? So right here, this is where a lot of times I start to see the back, the upper back kind of start to round here. Immediately, you're going to put pressure on your low back, okay? So that's why a lot of times people might think that they don't want to do deadlifts or deadlifts hurt their back. Deadlifts are actually extremely useful for your low back. They actually strengthen the core and the glutes, which help to alleviate stress and strain and pressure on the low back. It's basically, deadlifts are basically an anti-sitting exercise. So if we can get it right, it can help you and have a world of good. So we're going to hinge forward, okay? Squeezing those shoulder blades back and down. Keep that space between your middle finger and your thumb. Now then, from here, I want you to feel like you're digging your heels into the ground. They're screwing into the ground. So your legs are on flexion. And then feel like you have a support, a hammock in your abdomen that's pulling against your low back, right? So your core has to contract and pull together to support the low back. Then the shoulders stay locked down, okay? Then come all the way to the top. Okay, that's your buildup for a deadlift. Let's go through 15. I might lose count because if I talk a lot, I lose count. But we're not holding weight, so we should be just fine. Inhale down, core strong. Squeeze shoulder blades together. Push the butt back behind you. Flex into those glutes by digging into the heels. Exhale, come to the top. There's one. Inhale forward. Make sure you still have that gap between your thumb and first finger. Exhale, two. Inhale forward, squeeze between the shoulder blades. Exhale, three. So you want to feel upper, middle, back, core, 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 core. Flex into those hamstrings and glutes, come to the top. Four. Go ahead and let your arms hang long. This is where, five, we're going to envision we're holding that 100-pound bar. How would you settle into it? How would you get into those hips? How would you set those shoulder blades down to make sure you could power through those glutes to get the bar to the top? Inhale down. Exhale up. That's six. Inhale down. Belly strong. Seven. The chest stays lifted off the rib cage. Lift that chest up super high off your shoulders. Reach that chest forward. Inhale down. Exhale up. 10. 5 to go. You should be feeling flexion upper middle back, flexion core, stretch in the hamstrings, then flexion into those glutes and hamstrings to get you to the top. Two more. Last one. All right. Good work. Put your bar down. Okay, next we're going to go into a squat press. So we're going to set up our squat stance. We've been doing squats throughout the week, so we kind of have that set up. In the difference between your squat and a deadlift is that now you're pushing your butt back and you're dropping those hips down. Set your hands here up on those shoulders like you're holding weights, and then you're going to be pressing straight up overhead. Belly strong, hinge back, butt down, press through those glutes, get to the top. Contract your core and flex through the back. So we built some burn, hopefully, a little bit of heat in the back with our deadlifts, and we're keeping it going here. Keep that flexion through those legs, press through the glutes. Here's 10, 5 more. So envision you've got 20-pound weights each arm. How would you flex differently through the chest, Shoulders back, core, and glutes. Last 2, and last 1. Nice job. Okay, next up, we're going to hit a back fly. So just like we had our hip hinge with the deadlift, we're going to go back into a hip hinge for the back fly. Okay, so line your feet straight ahead, knees line with toes, hinge your hips back, core grabs super strong, slide the shoulders back and down. So start with your arms fairly straight, okay? Might be a slight bend in the elbow. What I want you to think about is having Pinocchio strings on the outsides of those elbows. So the knuckles will stay facing the ground. You're going to pull the elbows so the elbows start kind of coming out wide and then pinch back and down. So at the top, they're squeezed toward one another and pulling toward those hips. This is 3. Grab the belly tighter. Squeeze between those shoulder blades. So think about creating a pencil pinch between the shoulder blades at the top of the move. Belly contracts a lot. Also try to find flexion in that muscle, that serratus anterior behind your armpit. Those are super necessary, helpful, effective muscles that help support the shoulders and the back. And when we do not get those developed, we're going to suffer elsewhere. They also help stay relaxed in the neck. Keep that space between ears and shoulders. 2 more. Belly strong. Don't forget, keep the back engaged. All right, we're going to stay in our hinge. If you need to come up and shake it out or whatever, that's fine. If your low back's starting to hurt, that's your body saying, hey, I need a little more help through that core. You've got to tighten that abdomen back, support the core. So arms are going to go straight, palms face behind you, straight arm, pull, and then return, pull. So neck again stays relaxed. We're still getting into that back, the upper middle back, the rhomboids, the serratus anterior, and now those triceps also. 7, get that pinch between the shoulder blades. Doing great. Pull, flex. 5 to go. Support with the core. Grab the core tighter. Almost think of this as being a plank position as well. What do you do in that plank to flex into that core to hold support for the low back? That's what we're going for here. 3, 2, squeeze tight, tight, tight. 1. All right, come on up and we get to hit the ground. So come on to your back on your mat. And we're going to go into a scissor twist. Okay, find that position. We've been working on this all week. Find that pelvic tuck, right? Low back pushes into the ground. Core engages super strong. So you have a couple different options here, okay? Arms can go straight up, and then you'll extend the left leg out. And then I want you to just bring the arms to the knee. We'll go 10 on that side, 10 on the other. Or if you would like, go ahead and lift your head and shoulders, rest the head and the hands, and put both legs straight up. Some of us do need to keep our head on the ground, and if you do, don't worry about that. I would love for you to keep your head on the ground. Lifting it is an option you do not have to take. So, low belly grabs, as always. Twist your right elbow to the left knee as the right knee, or as the right leg drops down. And then other side. Flex across the core. Try to flex those toes back toward the shins and feel the belly pulling that leg back up. Flex deep into that core. Don't just get through the move. Pull with the belly. Pull with those abdominals. Pull with those transverse muscles. 5 more. Scoop that belly deep. 5. Flex back through the toes. 4. 3. Make sure the head is resting in the hands. You're not yanking on your head. Last one. And done. Okay. We get to stay on the ground. And we're going to pretend that we are pressing an 80-pound bar or whatever you want to pretend. So we're going into a chest press. And I want you to push your hips up off the ground. So we're also going to hold a glute bridge. Add in a little bit of fire from that lower the lower extremities, and then we're going to push through that chest. So make sure your knees are stacked right on top of your heels. And get ready, slide those shoulder blades back and down, contract deep across your core. Elbows open wide, hands out with those elbows, and then press with the chest coming to the top. 2. It takes some time to find self-flexion, that isometric hold, but I really want you to try to work on it, because the more that you're able to flex into the move without weight, then the better and more effective you will be once you start pushing weight. Once you're adding on that extra resistance of weights, you're going to get a lot farther. It's good stuff. 9. Make sure you're keeping your breathing going. 11. Press with that chest. 14. Good. Belly stays super strong. 15. Okay, we're going to stay here. If you need to put your hips down, go for it. Otherwise, if you can, keep them up. Hold a pretend weight between two hands. Elbows are right on top of the shoulders. We're going to hit into the triceps with skull crushers. So your weight, that's imaginary, is going to come right to your forehead and then press up toward the ceiling. Squeeze your elbows toward one another, and then see if you're able to find flexion in those triceps. Again, I can't overemphasize how amazing and effective and beneficial it is to your progress and to the strength of your muscles and bones, and to preventing injury when you're able to find the muscle without actually holding weight, right? To find the flexion, build awareness, bring mentality, your mental place to the muscle that you're wanting to build. Right now it's the triceps, it's the back of the upper arm, and of course we're feeling those glutes too. 4, 3, slide those shoulder blades down the spine. 2, and 1. Okay, drop your hips onto the ground. We're going to find that pelvic tuck so your core is engaged super tight. Hold that imaginary weight still, just like we did for our skull crushers, and it's going to go overhead. So you go as far as you can, keeping the shoulder blades slid down the spine. So I'm feeling a ton of contraction in my upper back, all across the upper back here, and through my core, because I'm keeping the low back pushed into the ground, flexing the low belly down to the floor, tightening underneath the rib cage without flexing my glutes. So then you pull the weight back up over the chest, inhale behind, exhale, pull. So there is no up and down in the core, in that low back, in that low belly. You're keeping it all engaged. You're engaging in the back. Arms are flexed. There's 6. Create space between your ears and shoulders. Flex in deep. Build some heat by flexing all the muscles that you possibly can. The only ones we don't want to grab right now are the neck muscles and the glutes, because we want that core to take the work. 4, 3, keep it up. 2, and 1. All right, hug those knees into the chest a second. We have one more exercise for our first set, and then we get to go through 2 more. Okay, so we've done our squats. Now we're going to throw in just a little bit of heart rate and hit those jump squats. Okay, knees line with the toes, drive those hips down, and then explode off the ground. Use your arms to help get some extra momentum. Height. 6, 7, 8. Keep it going. 5 left. Knees line with the toes. Last one. All right, perfect. Shake those legs out. Let's take a little stretch over the legs. Bob through those knees. Okay, our first exercise are those deadlifts. Roll the shoulders back and down. Knees line with toes. Core strong. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Hips are back. Back is flat. Press up through those glutes. 1. Remember, we want to grab that core. Support the low back. 2. 3. How flat can you keep your upper middle back? So those are your points: upper middle back, core, butt, hamstrings. Drive through those heels to get to the top. Core engages and stays flexed. 9. At the top, where you hinge in, where you set in there, really check that you flex a lot of glute without over pushing your pelvis, right? So I'll show you what not to do this time. This is 12. Do not push your hips far forward. You want to keep that stack here at the top. 13, 14, get that booty, and 15. Okay, squat press. Open those feet, hands up at the shoulders, core still strong. Butt goes back. So remember your squat. First thing, butt back, drive through those heels, knees line with the toes. You've got it. Remember, envision you're holding something really heavy. Press through those inner thighs, glutes. 11, shoulders back and down, belly stays strong. 14, 15. Okay, butt back, back flat. We're going back flies. Hinge the hips back, elbows up and squeeze. Belly strong. 2, 3. Focus on grabbing into those muscles. Keep that flexion. Still need to hold the core. 8. 5 more. Keep space between your ears and shoulders. 3. Really build. 2, 1. We're going to stay here. Straighten the arms. Press back. Sit back on those heels. Squeezing between those shoulder blades. 5. There's 6. How much pinch, heat, and flexion can you get between those shoulder blades, in through the core, and even still through those glutes? 3, 2, 1. All right, lower down on our back. Head up those scissor twists. If your option is to lift your head and shoulders, go for it. I'll stay on the ground this time just so you can kind of see what that looks like. Basically, you're just eliminating the twist. Push that low back into the ground. Flex deep into the core. Drop, pull back. 1, 1. So your focus here is really engaging that low belly, pushing the low back into the ground. So I will tell you, keeping the head on the ground actually causes you to have to work harder to engage that low back into the ground. Those deep interior core muscles, the deep core, as they call it, takes a little more work to keep it down there, to keep that low back flexed into the ground. As you're pressing that low back down, recognize and focus on your scoop of the belly. So sometimes pushing that low back into the ground causes a flexion of protrusion, right? Of lift in the abdomen. We want to scoop it. Might mean you don't get your leg quite as far, but your flexion and scoop, the contraction will actually feel better. You'll feel like you're training those abs flat to scoop as opposed to flexing them to protrude. Tighten in deep. I lost our count. Let's go one more each side. Awesome. Okay. Feet come down. Butt goes up. Relax through the neck and shoulders. Get that heavy bar, and we're going chest press for 15. Drop and press. Squeeze those knees toward one another. Find your pec muscles. Envision you're raising the roof. Belly stays strong. 8. Hands come up right over the chest. Okay, last. Oh no, that's 10. We're doing 15. I forgot. Good, good. 14 and 15. Okay, just rotate your hands to face one another. Elbows stay still. Bring your thumbs right to your forehead. 2, 3. Be in control with the triceps. The triceps are what are dropping. It's almost like you're pushing your hands down, not allowing them just to drop because of gravity, but it's almost like you're trying to push them down through wet concrete, slime, whatever it is. Keep the core strong. 5 more. Neck stays relaxed. 4, 3, last one. Okay, hips come down, but keep your feet bent. Push that low back into the ground, arms straight overhead. Flex through the abdomen. Set in that rib cage. Set into the back. Your elbows kind of rotate to point at your knees. Bury that belly button down toward the ground. Should almost feel like you're trying to drag your pubic bone up toward your belly button as well. Kind of an awkward thought, but that's kind of what we're going for, that scoop idea. That's how it's coming together. Flex deep into that back, deep into the core. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, you guys remember our throw up to twist from the other day? We're going to kind of try that now to help us get up. Okay, so swing those legs back, crisscross your legs. The right leg is going to come over the left, and then we're going to twist to the right, push into those hands, and then come all the way up. Lovely. Okay, we have our jump squats for 15. Ready, set, go. If you don't want to jump, you don't have to. Just keep those squats going on the ground. The feet stay on the ground. 3, 2, and 1. All right. Take that little stretch. And we have our one more round. Doing fantastic. Okay, deadlift. I'm going to face you this time. Knees line with the toes, shoulders back and down. Grab that core. Back is flat, butt back, back flat. Thrust yourself to the top. If you have heavy enough weight, you really have to get some oomph under that pull, under that lift. Envision you're just lifting dead weight. Good. 7, dig through those heels. Contract deeper through the core. Pinch your elbows kind of back toward that rib cage. There's 10. Really flex into those heels. Pushing into the ground, that'll flex into those thighs. 2 more. And 1. Okay. Feet wide. Hands up. Hinge those hips back and down. Find that squat. Pushing the hips back. Press through those heels to get into the glutes. Use some pressure, some force, and flex from the legs all the way through the core, chest back to get into those arms. 7. Hinge those hips back and down. Neck relaxed. As the arms go up, shoulder blades stay down. 14, 15. Okay, back fly, shoulders back and down, butt back, back flat. Here we go, pinch between the shoulder blades. This is kind of a funky move sometimes for people to get. So remember that forearm is not doing anything. Okay, it's just those elbows getting kind of pulled out and in using those back muscles, those rhomboids. Sit back on those heels. Can you grab the belly button any tighter to the spine? 12. You have to create that self flexion. Last one. Straight arms, hands back. Pull. 2, 3. Try to pull those shoulder heads back and down as the arms come up. 6. Where's the core? Grab it a lot. Relax in the neck and shoulders. 5 to go. 3, 2, and 1. Awesome. Back down on the ground. Let's go back down the way that we came up. So hands plant, twist the feet, lower down, and you're there. Okay, legs go straight up. Rest the head in the hands or keep the head on the ground, up to you. And then you help yourself out of this move, or help yourself with it, by just watching how much you lower or don't lower the leg, right? If it looks a little more like this, that's fine. You do not have to get the leg all the way down at all, at all. You can also keep those knees in. We've done those bicycle crunches. It's basically the same thing, but we're trying to incorporate a little bit of stretch and a little bit more work for that core. Let's go 5 more. Scoop that belly. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we're going to go up into that glute bridge. Push the hips up. Grab your imaginary weights. Find your glute muscles. And then we're going to find the chest. Press through that chest. 2, slide those shoulder blades back and down. Keep contraction on that core. Make sure you're not just overarching the low back. Good. Find flexion in that chest. If I really think about wanting to push the ceiling up, raise the roof, pressing a big box up ahead of me, I can really find those chest muscles. Take some work, take some focus. Last one. You can do it. All right. Triceps. Bend at the elbows. Elbows stay right on top of the shoulders. They do not move. That upper arm is super still. Neck relaxed. Remember, you're trying to resist gravity. Squeeze your knees toward one another. Slide the shoulder blades down. Flex into those triceps. Build awareness of the muscle. 3, 2, and 1. Drop your hips. Slide low back into the ground. Flex deep, deep, deep across that abdomen. Tighten it in. Overhead. Straight, strong arms. 1. Upper back and core here. Focus on that grab. It does get a little difficult to get all of that flexion and contraction, especially that scoop I've been talking about, into the belly. while taking a full deep breath of air. So kind of decide, maybe at the top of the pole, you can grab a quick inhale. Obviously, don't hold your breath, but we want to keep that contraction. So if there's small little pauses, that's actually totally fine. Relax through your neck and shoulders. Flex deep through the belly. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, let's rock and roll up. We'll turn to the other side. So bring the knees up, and then you're going to cross left foot over the right, twist to the right. Get that little up, grab through the core, and walk back to standing. Okay, we have our jump squats. Ready, set, and go. 8, 9, keep the belly strong. 15. All right, let's go onto the ground facing the mat. Good job. We'll start with a little child's pose. Depending on the temperature in your workout space, I'm sure that you still built quite a lot of heat and some sweat like I did. All right, let's go ahead and bring the body forward. Bring that left leg forward. Keep your right leg back. We definitely go through very similar, if not the same, kind of stretch routines. The reason being is when you know what's coming, when you know what you need to do, chances are you'll get it done. So even if you don't get a very long stretch here, or if you did another workout on your own or at another gym or somewhere else and you need a little more stretch, hopefully this has been ingrained or will be ingrained and you can keep that going. Keep the stretch. So drop your left hip. We're going to hinge those hips back. Pull the left hip back and down. Reach the chest toward your left toe. Find that stretch in the hamstring. Maybe a little space and opening behind that knee and into the calf. If you're not able to touch the floor, you can find something to kind of lift you up, bring the floor to you, or you can keep your hands up and just hinge over. If you feel like you're falling all over the place, it's very common and it won't last for long. So many of my clients have a hard time starting with stretching at the first, and you'll get it. It's also a very obvious progression. So that left foot is going to go across to the other side of the mat, and then I want you to just walk the whole body forward until the knee is facing toward the left corner, top of your mat, and you're going to lower all the way on your pelvis. Your right knee can kind of walk back behind you, in or out. So depending on how much stretch you want, you pull that back knee in toward your left foot or walk it away. But the thing here is to keep the pelvis square. So you really want to try driving that right front of your hip down toward the ground as opposed to letting it float up. Going onto your forearms is completely optional. All right, push into those hands and let's go back to the other side. Right leg comes forward, left leg is back. Let those hips hinge down. Find that top knee right on top of your heel. That back left hip flexor, that's where we want to feel the stretch. I'm a little sore in my inner thighs today, so I'm feeling it there as well. Love that. Okay, let's hinge back and get our hamstrings. Remember, you can come up, find that balance. Oof. Toe is up in the front, pull that right hip back. Reach your chest toward that toe. You do not have to tap the ground. Just drop that right hip wherever you end up. Try not to put pressure on your knee, so don't put your hand right directly on your knee. And you might still want a little bit of flexion in that thigh, the quad, just protecting the knee. Okay, and then we're going to take that right foot, cross it to the left side of the mat. Let your right knee kind of face up toward the right outer corner of your mat. Walk the back left knee down, and then lower onto those hips. All right, next week we'll continue with some body weight movements for sure, and then incorporate weighted moves. So the plan is just to stick with one set of weights for next week. But of course, if you have availability and you have extra different weight sets, feel free to grab whatever you would like then. Of course, we'll go over it start of next week. All right, push into the hands. Let's go into our downward facing dog. Stretching again through the backs of the hamstrings. Bend your knees a lot here. So bend a lot so you can drive your chest back toward the thighs. And then slowly straighten out those legs. Drive your heels down to the ground. Push your shoulder blades down the spine. Grab the core and then walk your hands back. If you are just getting into weightlifting and you're kind of wondering what weight selection you should need, women, I would recommend 5s, 10s, and 15s. Men, I would recommend 10s, 15s, and 20s. There's obviously some gap in there, but you can adjust, and I'll help you know how to adjust as we go along once we get started. And that's a great place to start. So anyway, 5 days down, you guys are doing great, and I'll see you next time.